Hey folks, how's it going? I hope everybody's doing well. So today I wanted to talk about the top 15 best Sega Saturn games. I do have 7 Sega Saturn games total in my collection, and I do have a Sega Saturn video on the way. So that'll be coming. It'll actually be tied in with the PlayStation 1 collection. Stay tuned for that. So the top 15 Sega Saturn games. Hold on a second. Top 15 games, man. We are going to get to that in a second. I just had to clean these glasses off. Okay, so I'm not going to go backwards with the list like Anthony Chobot does pop culture because it's all a memory fuck. I can't deal with that. So the number one game on the Sega Saturn is Panzer Dragoon Sagas. Sadly, though, I have never played it. And yeah, you're probably saying, well, then if you never played it, why is it on the list? Because everybody knows that that game is great and it's one of the best like action RPG games that you could get for your system. It really is a fun game and it is definitely the best game in the series. And they had 3 Panzer Dragoon games on the system, but this one's more of a RPG than an Unreal shooter. And you know, the combat in the game's great and the exploration in the game is a lot of fun. So that's why I recommend Panzer Dragoon Sagas. Number 2 is Panzer Dragoon 2. Panzer Dragoon 2 is also excellent, very fun. It's an Unreal shooter. It's not like it's not like a RPG though. This one's not, but it's an excellent game and it's a great shooter. A knight on a dragon battling other dragons and monsters, and it's just a really great game. Number 3 is the original Panzer Dragoon. We all know I had to put all 3 of them up here because they all kick butt. They're all great games for the Sega Saturn. Number 4 is Alien Trilogy. Alien Trilogy is a really good game. One of the best shooting games on the system. There were only a few shooting games that you could say were really great, but that one is really fun. Play as a Marine soldier, and you go through the level shooting aliens and getting things, collecting things. Number 5 is Shining Force 3. I heard it was supposed to be a 3-part game, but we only got the first part in the USA. It's a really great game, a great RPG. Lots of exploring in the towns and talking to people, and lots of leveling up, upgrading your sword and your HP, health points. It's a really fun RPG game. I recommend it. Number 6 is Daytona USA Championship Circuit Edition. I'm putting that over the original because I know that the original had some frame rate issues in the game and half of the levels were missing. This version actually fixed that. There's no frame rate issues in the game, and it's actually a really fun game. It's a really great racing game. Number 7 is Virtua Fighter 2. Virtua Fighter 2 is an excellent game. Great fighting game. Really improved upon the first game. It's not as floaty. And the graphics do look a bit better than the original. And it's a great fighting game. Number 8 is Resident Evil. Of course, I'm going to put Resident Evil up here because Resident Evil got its start on Sega Saturn. A lot of people are like, huh? What? Did it really? Yes, it did. Even though it was later on ported to the PlayStation, and the PlayStation version has um, more publicity than the Sega Saturn version. The Sega Saturn version did have 1 or 2 things that were different from the Resident Evil Director's Cut game for PS1. It's a great survival horror game, and I highly recommend it. Number 9 is Virtual Cop. Virtual Cop is a great game. You could use the light gun in the game, the stunner gun thing. And it just was a really fun shooter game where you play as a cop trying to save innocent civilians from thugs and robbers. And it's a really good game. I recommend it. But it plays better with the gun. It doesn't play as good with the controller. Number 10 is Guardian Heroes. I mean, Guardian Heroes is a great game. You really can't go wrong with that game. It's a fun RPG game for the system. Number 11 is X-Men versus Street Fighter. I believe that's what it's called. That's a fun game. Really good fighting game. Started off in the arcades, but later on it got a port to the Sega Saturn, which was a very good idea that they did that. And it's just really fun. Number 12 is Street Fighter Alpha 2. Another excellent fighting game on the Sega Saturn. They really did a good job with the Sega Saturn and making fighting games on the system. There was only a couple of crappy ones like Criticom and Battle Arena Toshinden, which really sucked. But this is also a good game, Street Fighter Alpha 2. What are we on? Number 13? I think we're on number 13. D. Excuse me. D is also available on PlayStation 1 and it was available on 3DO. Now, it's not everybody's cup of tea. That's why it's only at number 13. But I would be lying if I said that D was a bad game, because I didn't think D was really that bad of a game. It's a horror game, adventure game, where you play as Laura, and in the game you explore things and you're trying to figure out who killed your father, and you gotta investigate, and you do find like dead bodies and stuff, spooky things in this mansion that you explore. It's a very creepy environment and everything. When you're walking up the steps, just slowly walk up the steps like, and all you can hear is Laura's footsteps walking up those steps. It definitely is a game that will leave you on edge. And if you screw up in a puzzle, you're dead. You have to be very, very careful, in order to beat the game. I never ended up beating the game. I got far, but never beat it. It's really scary, you know. Definitely leaves you on edge, but it's a good game and I recommend it. Number 14 is NBA Jam Extreme. For number 14, I don't like to put sports games up very high on my list. I can't really because they're not really my thing. But NBA Jam Extreme was an actual good game for the Sega Saturn, but it wasn't like, mind blowing at all. But it was a decent game. Not as good as the Sega Genesis versions. They were much easier to play, but the NBA Jam Extreme for the Sega Saturn is still pretty fun. And number 15 is Virtua On. Virtua On is a really fun game. It's like a robot game where you fight other robots and you whoop each other's butts, fighting each other with swords and whatnot. Or like a sword mech robot hand or some shit. I don't know. But it's really fun and I recommend it. And honorable mentions is The House of the Dead, Virtua Cop 2, Scud, Clockwork Knight 2, Radiant Silver Gun, which was a Japan release only, but I heard you can still play it on an American Saturn. Galactic Attack, Virtua Tennis Open, that's a fun tennis game. Last Bronx, Fighting Vipers, Sonic 3D Blast. Don't be hating on Sonic 3D Blast now. One of the Saturn's actually not terrible. Not as bad as everyone says. Fighters Mega Mix, That I heard is a decent fighting game. And then Area 51 and Pandemonium and Power Slave, Duke Nukem, Nights into Dreams, and Enemy Zero, which was also tied into the D franchise. So those are some of the games that I recommend for the Sega Saturn. Oh yeah, also Sega Rally Championship. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good racing game as well. So anyways, that's all I got to say, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 15 best Sega Saturn games. Please stay tuned for more gaming videos. They're coming. Take care. God bless you all. Peace.